Good morning. My name is Mark Ryan. This is the third week of our 5-week stewardship campaign. Today, I'm here to welcome Jim Lester to share his story with us.
Thank you. Good morning. This is an extension of Coley's sermon of 2 weeks ago, when she pointed out that stories from the past help us determine what we should be doing in the future. I'm going to tell a few stories from the past. You have to decide whether we should consider doing initiatives similar to this in the future. I've attended this church for 78 years, and these are a few of the stories that I remember. These stories illustrate that we are a very generous congregation, and we've had a lot of fun together. The stories will expand on that. Decades ago at the 25th Street Church, we needed a new organ, which was very expensive. The leadership told the congregation that they would have to substantially increase their pledge, or we would use a piano instead of an organ. The fundraising was successful. We installed a new organ, and as a way of tithing, we sent money for 3 pianos to Silliman University in the Philippines. On another occasion, we had a congregational meeting, and the leadership pointed out that our expenses had been more than our pledges for over 3 years, and we had to either increase our pledges by 1/3 or we would cut back activities and programming. The congregation was generous and increased pledges on an average of 1/3, and we did not have to cut back on any activities or programs. As part of stewardship many decades ago, every 2 or 3 years, volunteers called at the homes of most of the church families on a one-on-one basis requesting their pledge. Volunteers were trained on how to make the call. Some calls were difficult, but most of them were very rewarding and built a lot of close relationships. Another result of the one-on-one calls is that the pledge amounts increased substantially. Prior to building our current building, we had a fundraising drive that was very successful. Our members were very generous. The building cost a little less than we anticipated, and as a result, we have a building capital fund for some of the components of this building. Very few people know that a woman from our congregation was the first female president of any major church denomination in the United States. She was an outstanding leader, was elected at the annual UCC Synod meeting to be president of our national UCC organization. In addition to having a generous congregation, we also had fun together. We had a tradition to celebrate our accomplishments. We had skits written by our members. The actors were in costumes, and the rest of us had many, many laughs. We also had a father and children's banquet approximately 4 times a year. One program that I particularly remember is that we had a live otter in a big water tank, and the otter swam back and forth as fast as he could, and I can still visualize the water coming out of the tank. We had another tradition of progressive dinners. We would go to one house for hors d'oeuvres, a second house for soup and salad, a third house for the entree, a fourth house for dessert. During a planning meeting, one of the women suggested that we consider just going to one house and have a potluck rather than going to all 4 houses. One of the men piped up and said, "We need to go to all 4 houses. That way we'll have 4 clean houses instead of 1. There are many stories that could be told. These are examples of the generosity and fun we had in the past. Our church has always been a leader in the economical movement in the community, And where the Waldreens are now was a Catholic church. And when we were building this church, they were tearing that church down. And we have a light on our cross at the top of our church. Well, I went to, and the Catholic Church had one of those. So I went to the Catholic priest and I said, can we have those two lights that you have that are on your church that you're tearing down? He said, sure. So we have a Catholic light shining on a Protestant cross.
Thank you, Jim, for those great memories and stories you shared. In the coming weeks, you'll be asked for your financial commitment to Grace Community Church. For years, I felt being saved was just coming to church and believing in God and Jesus. But today, my faith is built on having a relationship with God and giving time to my church. Having a financial commitment to the church is an investment in my eternal and heavenly treasures strategy. Prayerfully consider your pledge contributions to Grace Church. I know my wife Debbie and I are. Thank you. And thank you again, Jim.